Oh, well, welcome. Why did Birds of Prey whiff at the box office? What is whiff, ladies and gents? What the hell is whiff? Whiffed? It whiffed? Can't we say bomb anymore? We're not allowed to say bomb? Is bomb too... Is it sexist to say it bombed? What is whiffed? I saw this article and I thought to myself, right, let's take a look. Let's see whether Variety acknowledge all of the misogyny and the comments by Ewan McGregor. Do you know what I mean? All these kind of things, which I would have thought would have been fairly apparent as to why it apparently whiffed at the box office. So let's take a look. This also, ladies and gents, actually does go a step further to confirm the fact that it needs an awful lot of money to even come close to breaking even. So it's another reason why I'm doing this video, because a lot of people seem to think I was kind of talking out my rear end when I said it needs like 250 odd million to break even. It taking its... well, close to its budget, its rumoured production budget in the opening week, wasn't good. It's not good. So that still comes as a surprise to some people. But let's get into it, shall we? Right? So, after the commercial success of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Joker, Warner Brothers had been on a hot streak with its DC universe. Yes and no. Got to remember when this was made, and this is really important as well. Like, I'm not hating on DC. I love the Joker. Okay, massive props to Joker. All day, every day, loved that film. But this is a byproduct of when it was actually conceptualized, like 2014, 2015. This movie, Birds of Prey, was long gestating, so that's why tonality is just all over the place. That's one of its major problems, actually, to be fair, is the fact that it is long in the works and times have changed as a result of it. What they thought would do well is not doing well anymore and wouldn't do well anyway. So, yeah, interesting. Right, now it says in its latest comic book offering, Birds of Prey seem to have all the ingredients necessary to continue that trend in the studio's attempt to fashion an alternative to Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe. Here's a hot tip for Warner Brothers, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me. Don't try and do that. Don't make something. Don't make a universe to combat Marvel. Just don't. You don't need to, Warner Brothers. You don't need to. You proved that with Joker. Stop doing it. There you go, and I'm sure most people would agree with me. DC is not Marvel, and Marvel is not DC. They need to distinguish themselves apart. And having a female-led, basically Deadpool film in the DC universe, but with shades of Marvel, is just nonsense. Don't do it. It's not good. So it says, but despite a solid reception, the R-rated superhero adventure, which puts the spotlight on Margot Robbie's crazed baddie Harley Quinn from 2016's Suicide Squad, stumbled out of the gate, debuting to 33 million in North America. Those disappointing ticket sales were still enough to place first on domestic box office charts, which is hilarious because they were doing that. They were running these adverts before, like on President's Day weekend, which was its second weekend at the box office, saying #1 in America. Oof, doesn't age well because they immediately were not #1 because of Sonic. Oh, dismal. So it says, though well behind Warner Brothers' already cautiously low estimates of 45 million, Birds of Prey failed to make up much ground at the international box office, where it launched with 48 million, bringing its global haul to 81 million. It's not good. Now let's check this out. So they have these box office analysts, and this is what always amazes me, because I'm as honest as possible. I may get it wrong, and I'll admit when I've got it wrong. But they get these box office analysts come in, the mainstream medias, they get box office analysts come in. And it always fascinates me what excuses they come up with. And they are excuses. You know, I think it's very honest and obvious why this movie failed. You know, there's several factors. I did a video on it. I'll try and leave it linked above. There's quite a few reasons as to why this movie failed. But I bet you they don't list it. Now it says, they took a swing and they missed. Jeff Bock, a box office analyst with exhibitor relations. It wasn't for the movie masses. It was a niche comic book movie. Warner Brothers keeps having to learn these lessons. Is that why you think it failed? Because it's niche. Is that a nice way of saying that it's basically, you know, for no one? Is it because they distanced most of the males, even though most of the males are the ones that went out and watched it the opening weekend? But remember, and I was one of them. But remember, it's always men that wanted to fail, right? Yeah, of course. Now it says Birds of Prey cost a reported 82 million to produce, with executives at rival studios putting the numbers at closer to 100 million due to elaborate sets and CGI, and estimating that the film needs to make around 100 million domestically and 300 million globally to break even. Sorry. So when I'm telling you it did its budget in the opening weekend, that's not good. That is literally saying it's bombed, because from then it always has a massive decline, because this opened everywhere, and 300 million globally to break even. It's not near that. It needs to double what it's already made, where week by week you always see a steady decline. So it's not going to do it. It's incredibly unlikely to do it. About 300 million, whereas other people have erred on the side of caution and said that it'll do about 250 million to break even. Now that's sources close to the production. So the breakdown number is closer, or the break-even number is closer to 250. That's just break-even, guys. That's not profit. So they're looking at a loss of a lot of money. Nearly like 150, 170 odd million. Like, it's crazy. Now, hitting those marks could prove difficult overseas, since fears of coronavirus have impacted moviegoing in Asia. However, its R rating meant the film wasn't going to open in China in the first place. So that's not an excuse. Why are you using it? It's coronavirus, but it wasn't going to open there anyway. So it's definitely not coronavirus, is it? And that was some of the excuses that were coming out the opening weekend. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Now it says, given its cast of mostly unknown anti-heroes, Birds of Prey wasn't primed for a record-shattering debut, but it also wasn't expecting to take over Shazam's crown as the worst opening weekend to date for a DC film. But it's funny, because Shazam was well received, just wasn't seen by many people. That ignominious distinction is something of a surprise, considering the reviews were strong. It's not a surprise. That is not a surprise, and goes further to indicate the very clear disparity between what reviewers believe and what the general audience believes, or what reviewers are prepared to reveal and what general audiences think. We only have to go back last year to Terminator Dark Fate. Oh, it's the best since T2. That's not hard. Anyway. Now it continues and says that with the film enjoying an 80% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, such sentiment is practically glowing compared to the blistering reactions towards Suicide Squad, Batman vs Superman and Justice League, since reviews for Birds of Prey were embargoed until just days before it was unleashed on the movie-going masses. Audiences took it as a sign the studio was trying to limit exposure. No, it wasn't, because general audiences don't know about any of this crap. Do you know that? General audiences don't know this. They don't know, they don't care, they don't follow it. So it's really amazing what lengths mainstream media go to justify the failures of things. That's not why. People just didn't want to they didn't want to watch it. They didn't care about it. Now, thanks to a few rogue F-bombs and stomach-squelching violence, Birds of Prey was the first DCEU film to notch an R rating. While that didn't stop Joker, though not considered part of the DCEU, from becoming an out-and-out smash, it has likely prevented younger fans of Harley Quinn from buying movie tickets. Ticket buyers were mostly adult males, so it's definitely not the men that were getting you down, oh Birds of Prey fans, which were 54% were men and 65% were over the age of 25, according to post-track surveys. Crazy, right? Robbie's take on Harley Quinn was a rare point of praise in Suicide Squad, the impetus behind giving the deranged delinquent her own movie. She's not a star character. She has to work with other people. And it just wasn't going to work, I don't think. Which is funny, because they did change the name, which they changed the name everywhere now. It's even in the UK. It says Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. Very, very funny. Very, very, very funny. Now, obviously, the first mistake is not focusing on her, Bock said. So this is Jeff Bock, the box office analyst. He believes that actually the mistake of the film is that it didn't focus on her. What? Not naming it Harley Quinn was a huge misfire. They've done that now. It's not going to change it. And no, that's not the biggest mistake. Unbelievable. Unless Birds of Prey picks up steam, it'll mark another casualty for Warner Brothers. Other than Joker, the studio has suffered a steady stream of box office duds. Well, look. Now, another senior analyst said, in the coming days of this weekend, it will be joined by new films that offer little in terms of direct competition in what will be admittedly be a very crowded theatrical marketplace. That will be the true test. It's not going to do it, unfortunately. But there you go. I thought we'd just take a look at it together, really. It just shows media bias, I think, and the distinct lack of ability to really own what happened or even just see it. Because, in fairness, they might not even see it. They might be completely in their own bubble and oblivious to it, where the likes of me, other YouTubers, and you guys that watch these things are very much more in tune, I feel, than these box office analysts as to why things bomb. Yes, it had good traction. People were interested in looking about it and searching about it. But that's not because of positivity. Sonic, on the other hand, has had huge boosts on the search engine. Why? Because of positivity. Positivity had the massive. You can look this all up, by the way. The metrics are there. All of the huge boost was from the initial terrifying trailer, and then because things were changing, and then they wanted to see what the reviews were like. So you carried good favour there. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below in the comments. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news by hitting the bell notification icon. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I've been Mr. H. Take care.